straight out of college and into business. Meet Thierry Bockar. He's a serial entrepreneur for the last 5 years, running multiple successful businesses. I've had a chance to speak to him earlier on. Some very inspirational stories he's got over here. Welcome to the session. Thierry, how are you?
Very fine, thanks, Amit. I appreciate being there.
Glad to have you here, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about you. So let's go straight into it, Thierry, and let's start off by you maybe sharing a bit about what's your current business and what kind of services do you provide?
Well, yeah, a managing director of Vanker, pretty much a fund where we trade all financial instruments on markets and just using the capital we have to be able to compound interest.
Interesting. So you trade all financial instruments to put compound interest, and I'm guessing you provide some kind of return to your customers as a result of that.
Right.
Awesome. That's a big word, all financial instruments. In a short space of time, how did you go about learning so much about financial instruments? They are complicated little creatures. How did you go about learning about all these financial instruments and ultimately profiting from them?
Well, in the beginning, it was definitely a struggle. Self-taught, so most of it was not based off. I know people are normally prone to trade in demo accounts. I just put in my first funds and started trading. Lost a lot of funds, to the tens of thousands. Before the learning curve kind of sinked in, and then I started to analyze that you don't really want to lose as much as that anymore. Let's get yourself together, find out how this works. Came up with a strategy which was pretty much consistent for the first few months. After the first 6 months, I started to really see profits and then started to make 1,000 a day. Then I really compound interest on that.
Interesting. So ultimately, it's all self-taught.
Right.
Through experience, to taking the rough with the smooth. So to a lot of people, to a lot of business owners listening to that out there, this can be, nah, I'm going back to what I can do. I'm not going to sit there learning how to lose tens of thousands of pounds and learn the hard way. Tell me, where does your motivation come from to, go through each day as it comes? Well, go through each day. Some days are rock bottom, some days are high. Where does motivation come from for this kind of a business?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it was I think it's from the series of startup business models I've done previously where I failed, and different sorts of restraints. I know there's a saying that you're not really tested until you're under the fire. Well, I was pretty much really at the back against the wall, nothing else going for me. Didn't feel like there was any other way to succeed. If this wasn't it, then I couldn't find any other way to do it. So I just had to crack on and find out the best way to go forward. And it worked because there was I burnt all my boats, so to speak. There was no other way out, and this was the only way to go forward. That's how I dealt with it.
Isn't that interesting? You kind of burnt all the other boats, kind of stranded on an island over there. It was either make it or, well, the end of the road for you. And that kind of helps, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. So how would you describe how far you've come?
It's very fast and very strong at the same time. It's like a current being taken by the sea. You're pretty much on momentum. Once you saw the profits coming in, we didn't stop and say, let's kind of refine everything. It was more like get to the stage where we're so big we don't know what to do, and then go back and see how we can kind of clean up any messes that we made, if that makes sense. Because the whole main point of that is we don't know how big it can get. If you look at our fund, our website, our information, we're trying to reach a certain amount of capital by the end of 2025, if not more so, 100 million by 2025. That's a big goal. And the only way to do that is by two ways we've had in mind, which is to compound interest on the capital we have at the moment. And the second would be to bring in investors with a certain fixed return to help them be happy with the results they get as well. These are the two factors. So we wanted to see how far we can get to that stage. And with the current assets we have under management now, it's it is a surety to get there. It's just a time frame in which we need to do so. It may be more work.
Wow. Wow. So huge goals, huge targets over the next 5 years. You kind of answered my next question, which was about what are your aspirations? And you say you've got a new website, you want to get to 100 million. So
Right.
amazing. Your journey so far, 5 years into business, you're doing well at the moment. What would you say are your top 3 lessons that you've learned along the way as an entrepreneur?
There are so many.
Yeah,
The top 3.
start off with 3, and then maybe we can roll to 5.
Yeah. Top 3. I think the first would be try it. Don't hesitate. Don't procrastinate. Just give it a shot. You got to try, or someone else will.
Yeah.
Take an idea, whatever the case is. That would definitely be my first one. The second would be every mistake is a learning curve. So it's not really a mistake in that aspect, because it may be something that you've learned now. You thought it was a hard situation or difficulty, but in a couple of years' time, that experience may come out and help you in some regard, in some aspect, some way, shape, or form. And the third, I would say, is that you have to be hungry. It's I believe it's a battle of who wants it more. If you are not, then somebody definitely will, and they will take your dinner. So you want to protect that and be consistent every single day, and that in turn makes you more hungrier, because you're so consistent. People will not be as much if they're not on the same level as you, and those who are, you connect with them, like-minded individuals, and you build a friendship.
That is so important. And I like we mentioned there, some great learnings there, first of all. Try it, because if you don't, somebody else will. And you take every mistake as a learning curve or learning opportunity. And finally, stay hungry, because if you're not, somebody else will eat your dinner. Like the sound of that. Now, talking of dinner, what motivates you, and what things do you do outside the business that makes you want to be successful inside the business? Because as I say, happy person makes a happy employee. Well, you're not an employee in this case, but what kind of keeps you going outside of business?
That is a good one as well. I would say to keep yourself in shape would be one. I go to the gym more often, me personally, just to keep my my sanity sane. I know people say that a good mind is a good body and things such of that nature, but my respect to the training is that if you're consistent in that, then you're going to be consistent in other things as well. That's just one. Personally, I would say take my time away from not always being in the office as much. So I go holidays frequently, or go to places where it kind of broadens my mind, my aspects towards things. And yeah, just I think those are the 2 main things that I do, other than
looking after your mental health so much, not just your mental health, but physical health.
Right.
Regularly at the gym, yep, we can see some bulging biceps on the window over there.
Appreciate
And
it.
going on holiday, or just going places where you enjoy, keeping the brain fresh. Isn't that powerful? Talking about the brain, and you touched on something really important earlier on. You create a positive environment for yourself. You're around like-minded people. Now, as an entrepreneur, a lot of entrepreneurs that listen to this can sometimes find it's a lonely world being a business owner. You're kind of in the office doing your stuff, in the warehouse doing your stuff, not getting out and about, being around those kind of like-minded people to learn from. How do you go about doing that? Because as they say, with the average of the 5 people we hang around with the most, what's your secret or advice around there?
I think the first one was the fact that you have the concept of that first. You know that you need to be around people to be able to go further and ahead. Once you've kind of understood that, then the action is not really far behind, and then you start off with, I don't know, your conferences, your business meetings, places of work where people are on your level. And yeah, just different places where you're most likely to go, like I don't know, your restaurants you may see most of the time, a certain time during the week. Maybe people are normally working, but other business people are normally would go to this particular place to eat, restaurant or bar, whatever the case is. But once the mindset is there that you need to be around people, you'll start to search. But if you wanted to search, then you would look for conferences, business places, and things like that.
Amazing, amazing. So first of all, be the person you want to be, and your brain will look for opportunities to get you in front of those kind of people
Exactly.
that are going to
Yeah.
help you get there. That is a huge, huge concept. A lot of people, there's a big saying out there, the bigger a business owner grows, the bigger the business goes. You can't grow
Right.
your business until you become bigger yourself, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. That's exactly it. Yeah.
Absolutely. So you've accomplished so much in the years you've been out of college, but if you were to go back to college, or thinking about the 18-year-old Thierry once more, what advice would you give to your 18-year-old self?
I would say risk bigger in something that something that you feel that is a good opportunity. Now, there are many opportunities out there, but I was doing it at such a small level. I didn't really understand the concept of success in that regard, as in uh, you may take the risk, but it wasn't as good. It wasn't something like I'll give an example. I started a business in products, children's products. It was like an e-commerce business around that age, 18 to 20. And it was selling. I managed to handle the marketing side of things like that. I even had the mindset of if I sell a certain amount, I can make $1 million. I sold them at $5.99 per product for the smaller end. And there were consistent sales. I used to go to the post office every single day, 6 parcels a day minimum. And I had a figure, 300,000 sold at $5.99. You're going to make roughly between 800 to $1 million. That was my mindset, but the model wasn't as big. If I had thought of a bigger product, whatever the case is, my mindset would have changed. So my advice would be take a bigger risk, bigger mindset.
Bigger risk, bigger mindset. Just think big and be big.
Yeah, exactly.
Love the sound of that. Final question before we wrap up. Hasn't time flown so quickly. Final question is: you're full of so much wisdom. You've learned so much. Who is your role model right now?
Except for you, Amit, I'd say.
Well, thank you.
I would say there's a couple. I don't have one particular one. There's many for different aspects of my life. In terms of business, I would there's two. There's some that bounce off my head. Ed Milet would probably be one. Just in terms of mindset, if those who don't know, is what would you say is a speaker, business entrepreneur, things like that.
Okay, yeah, they're good, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say he would be one. Andrew Carnegie would be one.
Absolutely.
Richard Poordad, Robert Kiyosaki would be one. Yeah, just your main figureheads that have done business in the past. I studied the past a lot, so those are guys I look to as well.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, there's plenty of learnings and things that they share for people to listen to. And finally, what source of learning would you tell the listeners over here would be a great source of learning? For example, any particular podcast, any particular audibles that you think, you know what, this is a really good source of learning that's kept you going? What would you share with the rest of the listeners to learn from?
That's a good one. I would say off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you in podcasts. There's too many. There's too many businesses out there. I'd say that the ones that most spoke about, you should. The main faces. What comes to my head is whoever's doing the most in terms of money and success wise, and what you see online. I would just look into them.
Follow them. Find out the person you want to follow in terms of who's in your field, that's doing what you're doing, and follow them. Keeping it concise and precise.
Yeah, that's it.
Awesome stuff. Well, Thierry, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Some great insights. I've got about 3/4 of a page making notes on some of the gems that have come out of your mouth. What I particularly liked was stay hungry, because if you don't eat your dinner, somebody else will. And that reminds me of, it's almost dinner time now. I'm going to go cook mine, or somebody else will eat my dinner. But it's been an absolute pleasure having you here. You have a wonderful evening. And thank you for being so abundant in your sharings. Cheers now.
Appreciate it, Amit. Thank you.